Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to my channel. In today's session, we shall discuss a wide range of vocabulary in the context of life in town and cities. You know what happens in today's era? More and more people are migrating from rural areas to urban areas in search of better standard of living. Of course, they arrive in cities to look for better career employment opportunities. If it is the case, then I would say that looking for such opportunities when they come out from the rural areas to urban areas, that can also result in a transformation of life for both in the personal life and also in the life of the towns and cities. Why? Because we need more people to contribute in the economy. So just looking into that perspective, in case you have to make a speech on such a topic, of course you must have a list of most preferred and used vocabulary. So here I'm there to assist you with such vocabulary. So the first phrase I want to discuss with you is a bustling center. Bustling center here means which is totally occupied and it is always full of rush, very busy area. So can I say that her office is situated in bustling center of the city? I mean to say, in particular a location where there is a heavy rush. Okay, so the phrase that I wanted to use here is in bustling center. And the next phrase here is moved into town. So I can say that the people migrate from rural areas to urban areas. Or I can also say that people move into towns. This is very simple and very meaningful and of course effective. Is it correct? Okay, so the people move into towns in search of better career opportunities. Okay, let us continue with the next. Quiet backwater. So the quiet backwater has different meaning for the different people, but somewhere it means that I'm looking for a space where I can have a peace of mind and of course an isolated place. Okay, so somewhere whenever we are totally tired, or I would say deadly tired, of course we look some relaxing atmosphere for us. If this is a scenario, then I can of course discuss one of the terminologies or natural phrase here is that is quiet backwater. And the next phrase here is crowded streets. So I can say that a particular city is very popular for crowded streets. Correct? I mean to say the streets are always crowded with people. The streets are crowded with people. I'm putting one preposition with, crowded with. So it makes a sense for us to understand which preposition is most suitable in particular scenario where I'm using a one kind of the verb. Okay. So particular preposition for a particular verb in short we can say. Next is bored rigid. Can I say that her story bored me rigid? Her story bored me rigid. So that means it bored me a lot. Or I can say that I was excruciatingly bored after hearing her story. So this is the way you can make a sentence. Okay, so what I answered here, her story bored me rigid. Continue. Leafy suburbs. Leafy means an area which is full of greenery, leafy suburbs. Some areas are always found in the outskirts of the cities. So I can say that I prefer to live in leafy suburbs of the city. Correct? Somewhere the areas which are somewhere far flung areas at a distance from the city center. Correct? Are you getting? I mean to say in the surroundings of the cities. If it is in the surroundings of the cities, of course I can say that suburban areas. Okay, suburbs. Next is urban living. Urban living means nothing. These are it's basically a combination towards urban living. So urban living totally depends on your consistent efforts here. Correct. So you have to work a you have to work a lot to earn livelihood in urban areas. Correct. Of course, it is costly because you will have to manage the rent payments of the houses, especially when you're migrating from rural area to urban area. So in that context, I may use this terminology, urban living. Okay, so urban living is not so easy. Let us have discussion on the next fixed expression. Next one here is smart and modern buildings. While talking about buildings, can I say that it's a beautiful building? I may, but I would prefer to say that this phrase: people prefer to live in smart and modern buildings nowadays. So that means they have more resources, they can afford big houses, or I can say that they can afford spacious houses. So for that purpose, the builders or the project, the people who actually go for such constructions, they may have to exploit, they may have to go certain areas which are still not utilized properly. So that means we are moving from the city center to the suburb areas or the outskirts of the city. Okay, next one here is long opening hours. So could I say that restaurants in big cities or in big towns are very popular for? Restaurants in big towns are very popular for long opening hours like that. So that means some of the hotels and restaurants, they function 24 hours. Okay, so you can reach there in the midnight to have food. So in that scenario, I need to use a kind of the terminology or a phrase which means to say that it is open 24 by 7. So rather saying 24 by 7, I'm putting one English phrase there. The phrase here is long opening hours. So the hotels situated in this area are they are having long opening hours. So that means they work for nearly 20 hours, maybe 24 hours, but somewhere it is more than average of 12 hours. Generally, that we say 8 to 8. So in that scenario, in the next, a coastal village. So while talking about a coastal village, so the name itself, this phrase is having a word which clearly indicates that one calling a village a coastal village, of course, of its located location, because it is in the coastal area. So I'm calling it a coastal village. Okay, so what could be there in coastal village? The people may be having mains dependency on tourism in coastal villages, because tourists come and they spend money and it becomes a livelihood for the people living in its surroundings. So in that way I can use this phrase. Next phrase here is derelict buildings. Derelict buildings means the buildings which are not in good conditions. I mean to say they need urgent repairs. If it happens, I can say that derelict buildings have become one of the biggest concerns, especially in monsoons. Why? Because if there is a rainfall, especially a very heavy rainfall, so it can make the situation worse if especially the buildings are not in good conditions. So I would say that derelict buildings, correct? So they need the buildings which require urgent repairs. Next phrase here is surrounding countryside. Countryside here means the areas which are again outskirts or the remote locations. Okay, in the remote locations, I'm giving a reference of the surroundings. Okay, of course, it is full of greenery. This is going to happen, and people may not have adequate infrastructure, or the infrastructure is getting developed. So in that scenario, I can use this phrase. The phrase here is surrounding countryside areas, like that. Surrounding countryside areas. Next one is unspoiled countryside. Unspoiled countryside means such remote locations which are still not spoiled. I mean to say, we have not started construction in such areas. So I'm saying that we are going to purchase a big plot, a big sized plot in unspoiled countryside. Countryside here means directly I'm talking about a remote location. But unspoiled means the area is not fully developed. It is getting developed right now. Okay, so the meaning is there in each word that actually makes the whole phrase, or I would say a fixed expression. Next one and the last one is rustic charm. So the meaning is absolutely clear. Cities are very popular for rustic charm. That means that the living is very attractive, very lucrative, because the people have better opportunities, not only in employment but also to develop their skills and to have a luxurious life depending on the resources available. So here, my dear friends, in today's session I discussed with you what are the most frequently phrases and the terminologies or the fixed expressions that you can use while making a speech on a topic, and the topic here is life in towns and cities. So while talking about, in fact, villages, I can again say that unspoiled areas, correct? So it depends on you how do you pick one phrase from here. Even you can express your ideas on a rural life also. Of course, a peace of mind is there in rural areas. Why? Because life is not so full of pressure. You have time to enjoy, correct? So again, both are having their own pros and cons while looking into all the perspectives. So thank you, my dear friends, for learning vocabulary in this session. I hope to meet you soon in the upcoming sessions. Thank you so much.